It's time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now.
And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal. Go, go, go!
Hello everybody and welcome along to PSGL Season 29. We're back after our break week for the F2 tier and we head to the Mexican City for the Mexican Grand Prix for round 12 of the championship. My name is Jess and joining me as always is Owen White. How you doing?
Hello Jess, hello viewers and welcome. It is Mexico City. We've just been here for the F1 recently. We're now here for the F1 game for the F2 tier here in PSGL, and after the pretty decent race we had in Japan this week, I can't wait to see which random driver is going to win this week, because we've lost our winner from there, so we're going to end up possibly seeing yet another shake-up in this championship.
Yes, Paxi was promoted to F1 after a quite dominant win in Japan. He won by 10 seconds and he got the fastest lap, and I believe he got pole as well, so he was looking very impressive. He also looked very impressive in Canada, the race before as well, so it was inevitable, and he makes his debut in F1 tonight, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes as well. But quite close in the fight as well was Gil, who had a good race last time out in Japan. He finished in second place, and he's closed enough to the championship to Fabi now, so he's closed the gap a little bit. So now Baraka's dropped down, Brock's dropped down, but Fabi is still keeping his consistent form at the top. Joint with Valters now, but that means if Fabi scores tonight, Fabi will definitely be the championship leader now, because he will score more points than Valters. But Fabi has been having a good season so far, but I believe he's yet to pick up a win.
Yes, we're seeing that old curse of the F2 drivers not winning races yet still managing the championship. I don't think we're going to see that curse reappear though this season, because Gil, who has just started his lap, his last 3 finishes have either been first or second place finishes. He is on form now. He's turned the page, because it wasn't going great in the early sort of rounds of the season, but he has turned that corner, and I'd say is the favourite. And I've probably said many drivers have been favourite, because it changes that often, but just based on the recent form, Gil could be the guy to do it. But he needs a good race tonight. He needs to be getting himself in front of Fabi as soon as possible, because he wants to make sure he's in control of it. As I say, he's won the F1 championship before, which is a big advantage, because he knows what it's like to be in a championship fight. He hasn't validated this time though, so that's not necessarily the best start to his day, but he knows how to get these things won.
Yes, definitely. He was very close last season as well, but I believe in the final race in Brazil he didn't show up. So if he did show up, he would have been in the fight, and he would have probably closed up to Suko as well. So he even had the form to be in the championship fight last season too, but him missing the last race affected his chances a little bit. But still, Gil, he's got an advantage over Fabi because he's won a race. Same with Baraka as well, but Baraka's yet to pick up a win. He's just got He's mainly got P2s in the championship, and P3's not a P1. So I think Guild is the one to lose at this point, but Fabi, being the more consistent driver, could be the one that we could expect. Brock, I think, as well, could be up there. Maybe Netsky as well. We just don't know. We could be in a situation in Brazil in about 3 or 4 weeks' time where we could see a 7-way championship fight again. There's still many drivers that can't.
Big hit.
Valentin is out of the session already, and Valentin has had bad luck this season already. He's had mainly no points finishes, and the majority of finishes he's had were DNFs, and that is not how you like to start your qualifying session in Mexico. And he's binned it just after the S's actually, so that's not good. You can see his stranded car. That's not good. So he'll be starting near the back most likely, unless someone else invalidates or crashes out.
Yeah, and he was loose the whole way through those S's. It's amazing he made it that far. Not a good sign for his race. And we're seeing the first couple of times come through now, Natsuki and Daniel. A lot of people invalidated on their first time round. There's about 7 or 8 cars in a row just got it wrong for those S's. And I do wonder just how many of them possibly been playing Jeddah today, because that obviously came out. And it could be playing a bit of a factor, because everyone would have been tempted to have a little go. And obviously it's a very sort of similar-ish track to this one with the S's, but at the same time, it's a different track to get adjusted to, and I just wonder how many might have got distracted for tonight. But I say that every time there's a new track added. But it is a thing worth thinking about, in my opinion.
Yeah, because obviously last month was Imola. Quite a few people may have got distracted by that, but obviously Jeddah is now in the game, and there is a few things now coming into the practice sessions as well in Grand Prix mode, where Equal Cars is now in Grand Prix mode as well, so they got more chance to practice with AI if they wanted to, rather than online if they wanted to, if their friends aren't available. So maybe that's given more of an advantage at the moment, as track limits, as you were saying right now, it's going to be a factor in the race as well. And we've seen that a few seasons ago when we were last in Mexico, I think it was season 27, where penalties decided the win of this race and decided the podium too. So let's hope the drivers don't get disqualified. That will be amazing. And the track was built, this track actually, in 1959. F1 cars arrived here in 1962 for a non-championship race, and the 1963 race was won by Jim Clark, and there were so many other winners there as well. And since the hybrid era, quite a lot of winners. Obviously Max Verstappen was the most recent one a few weeks ago. The race there wasn't very exciting, was it? So hopefully we'll get a more exciting race in PSGL. We have seen more exciting races in league racing compared to real life. We got Yannick, who's almost invalidated, but he did not. We only got 70 drives today. Bill Murdoch is back actually after missing last week, and he's invalidated his lap time, but I don't think Yannick has that much troubles going through the stadium section as he goes towards the final corner there. Let's see what he could do. Can he get provisional pole position? 1:14.477 puts him into P8, just inside the top 10.
So then it's just do 1-2 with Suko and Gazizzle separated by 0.008. Very close, absolutely up there. And considering some people had sort of bad runs at the first try at it, to have half a second separating the top 9, expect a lot more drivers in that gap towards the end of the session, as they all get through the S's. Will Murdoch looks like the only person who's actually on a proper lap at the moment. He has a purple sector 1 according to the game. We'll see how the rest of the sectors go. It is this S section he's heading through right now, which is causing all the problems, because the rear end gets so loose, you may overcorrect the car, easy to either crash like Valentine did, or end up with a track invalidation for track limits. Still purple for the middle sector, so we'll see if Will can keep this one up as he heads through the stadium section. Easy to lose the rear end right here, but he's kept it all under control, and now it's just that blast to the line, and the time will be a 1:14.3, so he has gone 7th fastest. Not a bad time actually, though.
Yeah, there's some pretty good lap times by everyone so far. There's 3 people yet to set a lap time, but we've got Cohen and Ash Best going out of the pit, so they will be setting a lap time very soon. Hadler yet to set a lap time as well. He was being a naughty boy in the shoe, as he got a 5-second time penalty added to his race result after an incident with somebody in Japan, so he didn't get any points due to that. He was in, I think, 9th position, and he got demoted to, I think it was 12th place due to that 5-second penalty, which means a lot of people benefited. Netsky ended up getting a point in the end in Japan, so I think Hadler's got a lot of work to do in order to climb up into the top 10 again. Aston Martin are leading the constructors still, because the points that obviously Valtteri scored do count towards that. Netsky as well, who's been scoring quite decently with Aston Martin, will score points there obviously as well. And Haas obviously not doing too well at the bottom. The only points that are being scored by Haas is Jensen, who's currently sitting down in 13th position, but I'm sure he wants to find a bit more time in that Haas right now as he goes through the first few corners. But he's looking pretty decent around this track in practice, but it's not about practice at times, it's about how you do in the actual thing, because sometimes the pressure can get to you.
Yes, we saw that with his teammate on the first lap, stacking it into the wall. And I bet you'll probably see it in the last few runs of this quality session as well, when people really have to find the limits, as Jensen looked like he actually might have even locked the rears heading through there, set him completely off the road. And so that's his lap finished. Hadler goes past. Hopefully that doesn't distract him too much in the Aston Martin, currently sitting in 8th position. And looking decent enough, a little bit squirrely on the rear end, but nothing massively to worry about. He's quarter of a second up. That should easily put him into 4th position by the end of this lap. He would need another 10th or 2 to sort of try and break into that top 3. They are a bit clear of the rest of the field as it stands. Just with how close this field is, 2/10 is actually quite a lot, as Hadler does just go into that 4th place. Did find a little bit more time, but yeah, just bridging that gap between 3rd and, well, 5th place now, as Ash Best as well gets ahead of his teammate, and a few more times will be coming through. Got some Ferrari starting the lap, that'll be Kazizel then. And then we also have Risa starting the lap. We've got Red Bulls coming around as well. Cohen isn't validated though. Is that another one that's happened in the middle sector? Suko has had a slow lap, so he'll have to try again to keep that P1. I think he set that P1 time earlier on his second lap on the tyres though, so there should still be pace to make it work. And yeah, we'll see how he gets on. Daniel now has got to 4th place. He's just off the back of Gill. Very close indeed. Netsky's heading around the last corner now, but he's invalidated the time. So, Gill just started a lap as well, so we'll keep our eye on him. His teammate, I think, is also starting a lap. Just trying to see actually how many are finishing them. A lot of invalidations still. You're not seeing a massive amount of improvement. Fabi as well said a bad lap. There's also potentially just traffic issues as well. And yeah, it does feel like a few people are possibly even running off sequence a tad as well. It's all a bit all over the place at the minute. How is Kazizel doing? This is on for P1, but he's cut the corner.
Oh.
He's cut the corner, so that is not going to count. Even though it will be the fastest time, it will count for absolutely nothing. So yeah, the struggles around here, they're more than what I expected. Cohen Pitts race is invalidated too. A lot of struggles around here. Suiko as well invalidated, and he was on for P1, extending his advantage too. Is anyone actually going to set a quicker lap time?
Brock's invalidated.
Yeah, another one invalid. What about Gill? Can we trust Gill? He has kept it valid. Let's see if he'll be able to find an improvement. No, he's into the pit lane.
Ugh.
So this qualifying session, these guys are really struggling out here.
Yeah, they are, and we've seen that, I think it was a week before Japan, where the bank collapse that the drivers had set was enough, and I think we could see something similar here as well, as we're seeing Gill's teammate come across the line. His lap looks pretty tidy. Please don't invalidate towards the final corner. He does not, and he does not improve on his time, so he stays in 11th fastest, and I do believe we got a McLaren going into the pits who's invalidated. That is Fabi, so he's not going to improve. I think the majority of people are going to be going into the pits right now. Maybe Will Murder can improve. No, he can't. He has invalidated his lap time. Jensen is on his out lap. He's going slightly early on his out lap, isn't he? Maybe he wants to get a lap time nice and early, so he has a bit of breathing space towards the end, so he could get a fast lap and probably try and aim for the top 10, or maybe he would aim for the alternate strategy. Tyre wear could be an issue around here as well, but you've got to really qualify high around here, obviously due to those penalties that the drivers are facing at the moment. Netsky's on pole position right now as he goes through the S's. He's going to go into the pits very shortly as he's ran out of fuel. Yeah, I think everybody's going into the pits right now. So will Netsky's time be enough, or will the likes of Suko, will the likes of our championship leader Fabi beat it? Our championship leader is only in P10.
Another lap time then, Netsky's, which is fastest on the second attempt. You'll notice that is Netsky, Suko and Gill all setting their best times on the second lap on their time. So they can get it all right on the first, then they will have major improvements. And so it's all about making sure this last one's good, because as long as I get it on the first try, it will be an improvement. So that's sort of what's up for grabs there. Plenty to play for, as Jensen starts his lap, really come across much traffic in the Haas, and he needs to just get a time on the board. Of the times that have actually been set so far, he is slowest by over a second. Obviously Cohen has nothing on the board, nor does his teammate Valentine, but Jensen really needs to get this thing across the line at a good position for the sake of the Haas team, really. He's found half a second nearly in the first sector. So as long as he can just keep this up, we can see a Haas qualifying near the front. Obviously, Valentine does it a lot. And again, Jensen struggles through the double right-hander, just locking the rears up. Cannot get that car through there. It's a setup thing, surely. And that's going to be a real problem for him in the race. And I think he's actually backed off again. So he's struggling with a lot of rear end instability, especially on the brakes. That is something that you can't really do much about at this stage, is it?
No, it might be due to the setup that Jensen has on his car as well, and he set his best lap time on the medium, so he hasn't even set a best lap time on the softs yet, even though he's on the softs now, and it was looking like he was going to be on for pole position with a lap time, which was purple sector 1, but at least he could go again. I believe he has enough fuel and he has enough ERS, so... But we'll see, as I think a lot of people have been on laps on more than 2 laps of softs. Will it mean that it's going to be a wet race? But I did see people on the medium, so I doubt it is going to be a wet race. But you never know with the likes of Co-Masters and what the approximate weather brings at you. It could mean anything. We've seen some wet races, effective races this season. France being one of them. I think Belgium, I can't remember what other races were wet affected, but I remember France was quite chaotic, that the weather keeps changing drastically. That's what approximate settings does for you. As Haller is about to start his, well, I'm not sure with his second to last attempt or his final attempt, but he does have enough time to go for 2 runs on these soft tyres. And let's see if he's more comfortable than the likes of Netsky and Suko. Has someone invalidated?
Yeah, he's going to put it in the wall now, Jensen. What a terrible qualifying he's having. And that's probably it for him now. He'd already made a big mistake in the first sector and he got through the double right-hander but then just invalidates in the S's. It's a shame to see that from Jensen because the pace is there and I think he knows it as well. So that's not gone well. But how are these laps going for these guys? So who's actually started one at this stage? I think, is it Will Murdoch? Is it Will Murdoch leading? And then Hadler's actually done his own thing here on his own. He's actually slowed it right down to try again. Cohen is invalidated again. Is there a Ferrari of Kazizel? He started one, Daniels on an outlap. So I think we're really watching Will Murdoch lead a pack here. But he's also invalidated. So these guys are all ending up on a second lap. If someone can nail this thing on the first try, it could be so crucial. Kazizel has got so much free space, but he's gone off. Has he got enough time to get round? He does just about. But these guys are not having it their way in this session. Absolutely, definitely not. This is a very unique qualifying session. Fabi is looking good though. He has made this work. Can he get himself to the line and can he get himself up to P1? Or at least even onto the front row? At the pace he's at the moment, he should be able to manage it. But he's just lost a bit of time in the last sector. Still the second row. Not bad from him. But the rest of these guys, I don't know how many of them were able to get a lap in. Do they all have to back off and try again? I think that's what's happened there. So, Regretted has to wait a minute for these guys to all go again. I mean, Gil was up and then had to slow it right down. So, this is it now. Final runs. No more excuses. And you've got to get to the line on time. There's a few guys who might struggle. Baraka has got there. His teammate Reese might struggle. Cohen finally has a valid lap in and it's gone P1. I'm just going to make sure absolutely everybody gets to the line. Risa should be the last one to start a lap and he will get there in time. And so we now wait and see how this all pans out. Will Murdoch will be the first one to get to the line having finished his final run. Apart from Daniel actually, of course he's out there too. He's a bit off sequence. He's looking at getting himself up into that second row or even the front row. He's really lucky but there's no improvement in the last sector. It was looking good up until then. He stays P7. Here comes Will Murdoch. Slowest of the time so far, apart from Jensen and Valentine. And at the minute, a 19/1000th of a second improvement is not going to be enough to gain him any positions. So let's see how he goes across the final sector. Straight up to P2. See, the first two sectors were good. He just messed it up in the third sector on that last try. Someone into the pit lane, so they're not going to be finishing a lap. I wonder if that was actually just Yannick, who's now the slowest car. We do also have a couple more pitting. A lot of people still getting these laps wrong. Brock has, and he's gone up to P4. Another one into the pits. I think that might have been Ash Best. Let's see who is coming up then. I have a feeling a lot of these guys are getting these laps wrong again. where's all the front runners from earlier on? They're not really making this work, are they? Kazizel's got to get this. He's up by enough at the moment, and he is on pole. So one of them has made it work. The rest of them, possibly not as much. Wilmer, like Reset as well, has made it. Hadler's going to be slow into the pit lane, but again, these guys just really struggling around here. And Kazizel ends up being the one on pole. And look at that, all the top 5 guys got their lap on the second attempt. That's just showing how difficult a qualifying lap around here is.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. It may be down to the grip on the first run. Maybe they were struggling to heat the tyres, which may be more of a thing around Mexico than last game. We don't have a clue, but Kazizel seemed to have it tuned. Nobody had their best lap time in the top 10 on their first attempt, so it just shows how tricky the conditions are. I imagine what's going to be like in the race. There's probably going to be more corner cuts left, right and centre, and I think the winner of this race is going to be the one that has less penalties and less invalidations during the race, and I'm almost certain everyone's going to pick up a penalty, so it's going to be down to the one who gets the less amount of penalties. Anyone who doesn't get a penalty around Mexico is absolutely a robot, because I usually get penalties around Mexico and I'm usually the one that keeps it clean. As we are waiting to see the standings, as we've got a timer waiting, so we can't actually see who's on top at the moment, but obviously we know who's on top already, but we want to see obviously the top 17 that are racing. Go on, game. You're not showing me the standings. Lovely. That's not helpful. But we are about to get into the race, and I wonder what the weather's going to have in store for us. But we've got obviously Mexico this week, now next week we've got USA, then we've got a break week, then we head to Azerbaijan, and then the final round will be Brazil. So 4 more rounds to go, and there's some drivers that could mathematically be eliminated if they get a bad result tonight. So they got to be on their A game here. Fabi's still leading, of course, with Gil in second. So they can have a rubbish race if they want to, but they will probably drop down to like 3rd or 4th if they have a rubbish result, due to the fact everyone else is just so close. But it should be interesting tonight. Let's see if any sprinkles of rain may affect proceedings, because that could even be more tricky for in the S's especially.
Yes, it could certainly make a difference. I'm surprised so many went for a second lap on the softs. That could suggest that we have some weather coming. Either that, or the tyres will last long enough to make a stint work, which clearly it will, because we are definitely in dry conditions. So a lot of people starting this race on 2-lap-old softs, which means they'll be, over 10% damaged. Something that you don't see too often. We'll see how the drivers go about it. Obviously, the traction off the line is so important here because it's such a long run down to turn 1. So if you don't quite get it off the line, you might struggle. So anyone maybe in that top 10 who needed 1 lap on their tyre might gain a couple of positions there, but we will see how it all pans out. We'll also see what everyone outside the top 10 decides they're going to start on 2. And whatever happens, it should be an entertaining run to that first corner.
Yes, indeed. Whilst we wait for the session to get underway, because the timer is about to finish, we'll go through your championship standings. So obviously we got Fabi that's leading the way on 64 points, closely followed by Gil on 58 points, Baracus on 54, Brock's on 46 with Netsky, Haller's on 45, Suko's on 44, and we got Daniel, Kazizel, Riza, Cohen, and then we've got Simo, who's not here tonight, I don't think. Then we got CC Brain, Benny, Louis, Ashbest, Jensen. Then we have Recon, Will Murdoch, and Valentine. And don't forget, if it goes to count back at the end of the season, it goes down to who has the most wins. Then if they have the same amount of wins, it goes down to who has the most second places. If it's the same amount of second places, then 3rd, 4th, 5th, etc. So that's how it gets worked out in the order. And we got quite an even split, haven't we, in terms of tyres? Everyone in the top 10 obviously starting on 2-lap-old softs, whereas everybody else outside the top 10, they're going to be on mediums. I thought they would go on hards personally, but I guess they want to have a bit of grip towards the start of the race. That strongly suggests we could see a 2-stop for the medium runners, or will they go mediums to hard? This is going to be quite an open strategy for today's race.
Yeah, I'm feeling 2-stop might end up being the way to go here, but we've seen so many times how far they can actually end up taking the tyres, so I won't make any wild predictions. Safety cars will obviously affect this as well, if we do get any. But yeah, you look at that on paper and say, 2-stop, But watch them do 12 laps on the sauce, and then they'll be thinking, now we can one-stop this. So, yeah, we'll just see how it all pans out. You can see Cazzel, how much he's warming up those tyres. He certainly doesn't care about the wear on them, does he? He's giving it everything there, just to get the heat in. Because I guess the tyres, they'll cool down a lot on that run towards turn 1, so you want to make sure you've got some temperature there, so when you hit the brakes, the car stops. So they'll all head round. And quickly the grid, you can see it all probably for the first time on screen, I suppose, because there's all Cohen, Risa, Will, Netsky, Brock, Suko, Fabi, Gill, and Daniel in the top 10. Then we've got Hadler, Ashbest, Cici, Braden, Baraka, Yannick, Jensen, and Valentine. We just wait now for who is that actually at the back? Is it Baraka actually? As he had some sort of incident on the way to the grid. He's struggled, but he has actually made it to the grid now. He'll slot into 14th place, and once he gets there, you'll see those 5 lights come on. Such a long run to turn 1. Don't think there's many longer than this one on the calendar. And now we just need to wait. How are the reactions going to be? How are the slipstream going to work? We've got 4, now 5 lights on, because there's all from Cohen, that's your front row. And we are away in Mexico City. Looks like a pretty good start from the second row, actually. And Risa trying to find a slipstream now. Let's see what he can do. Cohen trying to take the lead in the race, and he has done so. But Risa is now going to pull to the outside. Max Verstappen style this. But can he get the braking right? Right outside of Kazizel only, which means Cohen will lead this race. And there's a bit of contact as well. Risa has to get out of it as they head round through towards the end of the first sector. It is Cohen. He got the best start. He broke the latest into turn 1 and he leads this race.
Yes, Cohen having a good start as well. I think most people made it through turn 1 very cleanly indeed. The two Hasses are having a bit of coming together as well, but as they make their way towards these tricky set of apex coming up now, we've got CC Brain trying to go for a move on Yannick, so he's had a bad start as well. But usually, like we've seen in real life, starting P1 around here is not usually the best. Starting P2 or P3 is the best, and that's what Cohen did. He had a perfect start, and he's already pulling away from Kazizel, so getting that toe at the start was, I think, very crucial for the Red Bull driver. Don't forget, he DNF'd last race in Japan, and he's looking for redemption for him. Netsky stays in 4th place. He's looking for redemption as well. We got Daniel that's trying to get past Will Murdoch into the final corner. Will Murdoch's had a little bit of a swerve there and a little bit of a tank slapper. So I think Daniel could get this move done before we had turn 1, but I wonder if Will Murdoch is going to go for the defence of dreams here. I think we could see Gil that Daniel is trying to close in too. So Daniel could close in a little bit there. Don't forget DRS isn't activated yet, but there we go. Daniel is up another position, up into P9, and I think Daniel's teammate is closing in on Cohen at the moment, which shows, I do agree, the turret is very, very powerful, and so is the slipstream.
So Will Murdoch, definitely the loser of that start. He's lost 6 spots now, unfortunately. I don't know whether he just had a bad launch with the line, but either way, not the best lap one for him. And we'll see how he can fight back. None of those medium runners were able to break into the top 10. So it is just Ash Best leading Baraka, who did have a decent start. And we'll see how those medium runners can get into the race as it progresses. But it's all about really Kazizel here, waiting for the right moment once again. He has used a lot of ERS in the early stages. Is he thinking about getting past as soon as possible? There won't be any DRS until the end of the second sector, really, on lap 3. And because you won't be able to use these first 2 zones because the detection point is before the start of this lap. So even though we have DRS enabled, you won't see it until the 3rd zone. Suko, though, is overtaking Brock anyway. So as Brock actually had a bad run for that last sector, Suko certainly doesn't mind. He's going straight through. But now Brock can get a secondary slipstream and decides he will not fight back on his Shizou teammate. And will just sit back and take 6th place and let Suko do whatever he is doing. Because he's got a decent gap to Fabi Brock, so no point fighting too hard in the early stages. And yeah, let's just see what these leaders are going to do. I have a feeling Kazizel knows he's faster just by the fact he got the pole position. As Daniel gets ahead of Gil, that's a big move for the championship. Fabi will be enjoying that one. But Gil's coming back at him. And it's Ferrari and the Williams are going side by side here. A risky thing to do so early in the race, and Gil does back it off.
Yeah, Daniel, I think, having a good race, but Gil was really wanting to challenge Daniel there after Daniel was on the attack there as well. So I wondered the Ferrari is going to gain quite a few points in the championship. And as far as the constructors, is concerned in terms of Ferrari. They're currently sitting in third, whereas Williams are in sixth position. So Ferrari having the upper hand at the moment, and they're showing Williams how it's done. Cohen setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and this is where for the first time they're going to use DRS on the start-finish straight, which I think Netsky is taking full advantage of, heading towards turn 1. But I don't think he's going to make it in the first detection point, but he does have it on, going to be having on the second, as Rizza's gone a bit wide, and this could be Netsky's breakthrough moment. This could be his chance. I think Rizza is struggling. I think quite a lot of people are struggling for grip once again. The track temperatures are starting to heat up as well, and we're also starting to see ERS being used to the fullest as well. So Netsky must be loving the sound of that. We got Kazizel and Cohen fighting in the front as well. So we got a battle for P1 and a battle for the podium as well. Then we also got some fights in the back for the final points paying positions as well. That can heat things up. Especially, I think we're seeing a lot of people going wide on the S's. So I think we're already seeing quite a few people getting warnings already. No penalties out at the moment, touch wood, but don't be surprised in the next lap or two to see the first one come up on our screens. But I am surprised we haven't seen one yet though, so they are keeping it clean at the moment.
Yeah, they're well behaved until they end up in a big fight, and then they'll start picking the penalties up. But I wonder what Gazizel's tactic here is going to be. He could easily have overtaken into turn 4 last lap, but decided against it. His teammate is the fastest guy out there on track. Is Gazizel just going to let himself close up again? He's actually turned off the DRS there, look, and actually put the brakes on the straight. So he's happy definitely to sit behind Cohen. I mean, what the drivers used to do in the olden days of 2018, 2019, was actually they'd work together to DRS each other out of DRS. I don't really tend to do that anymore. Maybe it's just a thing maybe they've just forgotten that tactic. But it used to be the main thing to do in this sort of situation. And it's sort of keeping reset in this thing, because, you know, these two could easily just get themselves clear, but they just don't seem interested in that tactic.
Nope, they're not, and maybe they are using each other as slipstream to let people increase the gap a little bit, but that's definitely not helping at the moment in terms of the front lot. No one is going to the pits as well, so I think we've seen the first race in a while where people have kept it clean in terms of damage as well, and I thought there'll be more damage with a track like Mexico. So people in F1 in real life, watch how these F2 drivers do it, and you'll be absolutely fine, as we're starting to see drivers really start to push to the limit. I wonder if the tyre that's going to start to degrade very, very soon, and we'll probably see the mediums come to its own. Watch out for Ash Best. He is the highest medium runner, but Baraka is closing him in into the final corner as well. So I think Baraka could be on for a move soon as well. We'll watch out for Netsky and Rizza very, very soon as well. And Kazizel and Cohen could be on for the battle for the lead in the next DRS zone. But meanwhile, Baraka gets past Ash Best into turn 1. He's up into P11, and he's now going to be closing in on the soft runners. As we got our first time penalty of the session, that is Will Murdoch. He picked up a 3-second time penalty as he ran a bit wide. I think it was turn 2 and 3.
Fabi.
As Fabi is making moves as he tries to get past Brock. Brock goes off the circuit. There's also Daniel in the fight as well. So if these two don't get a move on, Daniel could get both of them. But Fabi, this is crucial moves for the championship. He's got to make sure he stays ahead of all his rivals, and the majority of his rivals are in front of him. Apart from Gil is behind him luckily, so at least Fabi would increase the gap to Gil. But Netsky and Tsuko, I believe, were so close in the championship that Fabi could not afford to stay behind them one more minute.
That was a really nice move from Fabi, that run outside of 4. Good driving to get ahead of Brock. Brock was fair racing as well, but Fabi making the moves you have to in a championship fight. So despite me saying Gil's the favourite, actually it's Fabi making all the moves. It's typical, I'll say that, and that happens. Let's see if Netsky fancies a move on Risa yet. He is definitely close enough if he wants to go for it, and he will pull to the inside, and he's going to maybe start putting some pressure on Kazizel here if he can get through. But Risa is not going to be a pushover, because he still fancies catching the front 2 as well, and that whole to the top 5 are right on each other. Yet nothing is actually happening in terms of their fight. They're all just waiting for a mistake, and that's what Kazizel has just done. He's gone wide at 4, better contact with Risa, and positions stay the same, unless you're Tsuko, who fancies mugging off Netsky, and he's just done it up into 4th position. So Netsky falls down, and Tsuko is pushing on forward.
Yep, he is as well. Don't forget, he was the runner-up last season in the F2 Championship. He lost the championship by 1 or 2 points. He's currently sitting 9th in the championship, which is not where he wants to be, but a good result here and a good result in USA maybe would boost his chances, because he still could technically win it. But he needs a good result today, really, because the gap after tonight, without fastest lap, the maximum points you can get without fastest lap is 48 points. And obviously 3 points for fastest lap for the remaining races, so that's 51 points. So if you're more than 51 points to Fabi, then you will be eliminated at the end of this race, if you haven't already, as Brock could be the one to ruin Fabi's party into turn 1, into this long straight, which he does not. And we can, I think, see Riza under pressure from Suka once again. Suka is another driver, I would say, that's up in the paint here today. He knows how this championship means to him. I said at the beginning of the season, he messaged me and said he has one goal, and that is to win the championship. But his results hasn't been that good through some of the races, and I think he's showing that practicing is key at the moment. Even though he's admittedly had a go at Jeddah today, he's had a little bit more practice in Mexico, and it's definitely showing right now. We could see his first position on the podium for quite a while, which means he can get more points added to his championship tally, which means he could still be in the championship fight, as Suka is getting a really good run, whereas Rito is also getting a good run as well. He's got DRS, so maybe in the start-finish straight Suka will get the move, but Suka and Fabi, I think, two of the biggest stories of the race so far, making moves.
Yeah, we'll see what other stuff happens throughout the field, because I'm just noticing, because this sort of letting that gap grow a little bit to Cohen. He's not even saving ERS, in fact Cohen has more. So the Red Bull driver at the head of the field, still looking really strong actually at the moment. And it feels like Kazizel might be about to get mugged. We're possibly 3 wide. We are just about, as Suko gets 2 cars for the price of 1, but it does hit Kazizel. So nearly made it work, but can he maybe try and get it done on the run towards turn 4? He might still end up being close enough. Will he be brave enough on the brakes to try again a late move on Kazizel, who does hold his ground and keep hold of 2nd place? But it's Suko again, the guy making the moves here today. But his ERS, it is suffering. He has got to keep his eye on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers are running out of ERS as well. Cohen is loving life at the front at the moment. He's got 70%. So even if people challenge him for the race victory, he's got plenty to use on his overtake. So it's his race to lose right now as well. I'm just seeing who else is good on ERS. I think everybody else is on 30 apart from Daniel. So Daniel's on 60 as well as Cohen. So Daniel can make moves too, as Ash Best behind him gets a penalty. I think Gil just picked one as well. So the penalties are potting up right now, as Yannick's just gone into the pits. He's going onto the hard compounder tyres. And I did see someone else go into the pits who's probably going to do the same thing. That is Riza, who's hoping, I think, to get to the hards of the eggs. There's no way you could go do a set of mediums to the end, but you never know. And he does go onto the medium, so I think that means he's doing a 2-stop by the looks of things. But we've seen 2 stoppers for after 1 game as Fabi.
Risky stuff this is, because as he watches Suko move up to 2nd place, he fancy trying the same thing, but it hasn't worked in his favour trying to pass Netsky, because here comes Brock trying to do what Fabi did to him a couple of laps ago around the outside of 4, but it hasn't happened for him this time. Will he try and cut back? No way through. Suko is already broken into the DRS range of Cohen. This guy is quickly becoming the favourite for this race, but can he keep this thing on the road? Can he manage his ERS? I suppose he'll be looking for a pit stop soon to just sort of help correct that. Risa had went onto medium tyres, so does that mean he fancied a 2-stop? We'll wait and find out later on, because if he is, then we might well see the rest of them try that too. But let's see what Suko can do. Now he's in a position to try and fight the leader.
Yes, quite a lot of people fighting for the lead now, with the likes of Kazizel thinking that he could get involved, but Suko says, you know what, if you get involved, Suko's in. Suko is in, so he's following Risa's undercut by the looks of things, and he's probably going to go into the mediums too, or is it hards? Nope, it's medium. No, it's mediums for the Aston Martin driver. Which Aston Martin driver's going in? I'm not sure, but Suko's on the mediums too. Netsky on the mediums, Brock on the mediums. No one is going for the hard tyres. I thought it would have been a soft to hard strategy. I don't know. There's no way they can one-stop. There's no way they can one-stop. Barisa's going to be ahead of Netsky. Or is he going to be ahead of Suko, though? He's just about ahead of Suko, so
He's got the RS Suko. We might go back for it. Down the inside of one. Risky stuff. He knows he's got a second DRS zone. What he doesn't know is that Risa has blown his old tank of ERS on that outlap. So Suko could get the move done here, but he's decided against it. You can see the flashing red light on the back of the Alfa Romeo. But what he'll also have realised is that that's a pretty powerful undercut for Risa. And Suko, he feels he could probably end up taking this lead of the race into turn 1 this next time round if Cohen ends up pitting. So look out for that at the end of this lap. In fact, in just a few moments' time, Cohen nearly going a second lap slower than his best pace earlier on. So you could definitely say that the softs are giving it up. But he is going to stick with it. He's staying out. Kazizel's out as well. Fabi into the pits. Daniel into the pits. Gill stays out. Some slightly different strategies perhaps going on. We've got 3 guys on the softs who are still out. The rest of them have all pitted. And let's see if we're going to see a move from Suko. Like I say, he's got good ERS now. Risa has not. He's used effectively everything. About halfway down the straight, he will have nothing to fight against the Alpine. And you can see the closing speed now. And Suko will be absolutely loving this because it'll be a nice, easy move. And he'll get a fantastic lap time as well at the end of this one. Could easily help with this undercut on Cohen. He's almost certainly now going to be the net leader of this race. But is this the right strategy to be on? Is he going to be doing a one-stop, a two-stop? It feels unlikely to be a one-stop. Are those guys at the front going to be doing a one-stop? What about those guys that started on the mediums? Will they be doing it as well? Is this going to work out for Suko and the other early pitters?
I do indeed. I wonder how long it's going to be, as the mediums are meant to last 17 laps, but you never know on this game. With most of the tracks on this game, some people can make the medium tyres last a lot laps longer than the game was predicting. So you never know. The drivers could prove us wrong, and they could do the one-stop soft to mediums. You never know, but you would expect to be pitting a lot later. So we've got Kazizel in now. Cohen is in. Gill stayed out then. So interesting call that Gill's staying out, because he is going on the softs a little bit longer than predicted. He's going, I think, pretty much to the end of their life at the moment. So watch out for him. His tyres are hot at the moment, so expect to be in punch territory very soon. You can see the mediums are the faster tyre now, so Gill's seen that. This is going to be a great battle. Oh my goodness. This is great.
Look at Cohen. What a disaster. That is a disaster. I mean, there's no way of sugarcoating this. He's gone from the lead to 6th. Could even end up being lower if he ends up getting mugged off by Will. But, I mean, Kazizel's almost just as bad. And, well, I suppose they'll be questioning their own strategy, why they stayed out an extra lap and an extra lap over and above what they really should have been doing. So, that's, well, it's given Cohen some work to do, definitely. The guy has been controlling this race in the front from the very start. Can he make the overtakes to get himself back up? Because that's all we know from Japan. He is good at getting back up through the field, but Cohen, is he already feeling the pressure? He's got a penalty. He's got Will Murdoch all over him. Gill still stays out as he's waiting for a safety car. But I don't think Cohen will be too happy at all with how this race has just turned on him.
Yeah, but Cohen usually, when he starts on pole, doesn't end up converting to a race win. We've seen that throughout the whole season. The only one to buck the trend was Paxi a few weeks ago. Nobody else, full-time driver, was able to do that. And Cohen is realising the pressure is getting to him. He's getting even passed by Will Murdoch, but he's on the soft tyres, so you will be expected to pit again. But yeah, he's dropping back a field now. Kazizel on the back of this as well. He almost got the move done. Will Murdoch picking another 3-second time penalty. I wonder if he's just struggling on consistency. And I think this is a track that rewards consistency more than anything, as we're seeing more moves being made up front as well. Gill stays out another lap. You could see Baraka closing in the background as well. I wonder if Gill has got a strategy plan that we probably weren't expecting, and probably pushing a little bit longer. But the more he stays out, the more that the undercut's going to be more powerful for the ones who pitted early, like Netsky, Rizza and Suko, who's currently on net race leader. But we will see what happens. Is Gill going to come in? No, he stays out again. What is he doing? He's probably got something up his sleeve that he doesn't know about. Maybe there could be a threat of rain, and he's probably staying until the rain comes, if there's rain.
We've even got Jensen pitting now. That's a really interesting sort of strategy for him and for Gill then. I suppose you could also be sitting there thinking, well, I've already lost out. Let's see if there's a yellow flag that might help me with a safety car, etc. Because I think that the right's probably on the wall for his positioning as it stands. But if Will Murdoch gets this mover on, you know, we could be straight into a safety car. As you can see him all over the back of Daniel. His goal, supposedly, sauce, is to get to the front of this queue, if he can. Race is still trying to get by Suko. Got to within a 10th by turn 1. Maybe he doesn't actually fancy the move. Maybe he's just going to sit back and let this all sort of stew for a bit. What a close train this is, though. You wouldn't think we're on lap 15 how close these guys are actually running. It's like the living safety car how close these guys are, but it's going to have to give somewhere, and that's maybe what Gill's banking on.
Yes, I remember commentating in Mexico a few seasons ago in F2, and it was quite a classic race there, to be honest. So they always deliver here in this tier, as Will Murdoch looks to try and get past another car, which he does in the stadium section on those set of soft tyres, which are 1.132 seconds quicker than the medium. So of course he's going to try and get past. Ash Bess is in the pits. He's going to go onto the hard compounded tyres, so another different strategy for another driver then. This is going to make things wide open, but I think we're seeing more battles coming up ahead at the moment as Netsky is closing up to Rizzo. We got Will Murdoch closing up to Fabi as well, so Fabi's losing a bit of ground. So Ash Bett is going to come out, I think, in between. No, he's going to come out behind Jensen, but at least he's got Yannick, who's only 32 seconds down the road, so at least he's got nothing like that to worry about. DRS enabled then. Can Netsky get the job done through here? Nope, he does not. Gill again stays out for another lap. I would like to ask him if he gets on the podium what his tyres were like in his first stint, because he is still pushing, but if he makes a mistake, then probably his strategy was uncalled for. But he's got experience in this tier more than anyone. He probably knows what he's doing, and he's probably hoping for things to turn for the better. Maybe he is hoping for a early safety car, which could get him back into this. Maybe he's going to try a soft to medium stint, which if he makes it work, yes, he finally goes into the pits after 15 laps on the softs, and now Baraka takes the lead on track, and it will be Soko that takes the race lead, and Gill will drop down quite a bit actually due to that long overcut. And there he goes then. He's on the medium compounded tyres, which I do believe, I'm trying to do my maths here, he can get to the end. So will this strategy of him going long on the softs pay off, or will the ones on the mediums or ones on the two-stop be quicker? We'll have to wait and see. This is shaping up to be an exciting end to the race because everyone's on different strategies and we don't know which strategy is the right one.
How long are the mediums meant to last?
17 laps.
Yeah, and he went 15 on a set of the softs, so
probably about 21, I would say, if Gill was able to get the softs to last 17. The softs last 13 laps they're meant to be, so...
Yeah, so, you know, you could possibly argue that the guys who pitted for mediums earlier will be able to stretch them. They could manage it, you know. Let's see, though. Let's see it. We'll see how far this initial set of medium runners go. If they fancy pitting anytime soon. But they're staying out. They're going to be our benchmark, really. If they hit to that lap 24, 25 range, then it'll be easy for the other guys to get to the end. Even if they get close to it, a lighter car will add a lap or two extra on the tyre for you. And, yeah, I wonder if they actually are all on one stop and if Gill's just sitting there thinking, yeah, fresher tyre, but sandwiched in between two Haas cars, as we see a double overtake. Suka's been really mugged here, but perhaps he won't. Well, there's a bit of contact there. Hopefully, there's no damage. I was going to say perhaps he won't mind having a bit of DRS for himself to save the ERS up, but not when you get mugged this badly, which is what's causing Fabi and Brock. Oh, sorry, that's Will Murdoch, isn't it? They're 3 wide almost, but Will Murdoch will still throw his nose on the inside. This is a disastrous lap so far for Suko. I just don't think he was expecting 2 cars past him. I don't think I was expecting it either, but Kazizel might even find himself passing him as well. So Suko probably was happy to let 1 car through so we can get the DRS off of him. He's ended up letting 4.
Yeah, I think we saw with the likes of Cohen, with him dropping off as well. I wonder if Suku is having the same sort of treatment. Maybe he was pushing too early like Cohen. Speaking of Cohen, he's been mugged as well by Daniel once again. And Cohen is looking to fight back here, but his penalty is not going to help him. He's got to be clear of some of these guys by the end of the race. But I doubt that's going to happen as Cohen has a bit of a slide. That was so close to a crash, but that didn't happen, which is a relief. But it looks like Brock's going to get him with the overtake on at the start-finish straight. Don't forget, it's a very long run towards turn 1. It seems like eternity for these drivers, but it doesn't look like Brock is going to make it anytime soon. But Cohen seems to be making many mistakes as well, Suko as well. And I wonder if Suko's going to get mugged up again from Will. And again, he's on the soft compound of tyres. I wonder if he's going to go on another set of softs in the end.
Suku's just overtaken Will back, so he's starting to fight back. I think that was also Cohen trying to pass Daniel. In fairness, he hit him quite hard, but I don't think there's any damage being done. That save though, that must be on contender for save of the season, and now that nearly snapped big time twice on Cohen. So that's fair enough to keep it in the race. He's still sliding through the S's. Look at that, he's weaving so much. But he's keeping it just about on the island. Will Murdoch still sitting on the back of Suko, but Suko, just got to keep your head down. Although looking at the ERS level,
he's hit
it's not looking
Suko.
good. And we'll see now, can Will Murdoch even get himself through? He's clearly pushing him through the corners, quite literally, as he heads through the final corner. He's having a Cohen-style snap of oversteer now, as we see sort of 3-car fighting for the lead up at the front. Reese is 7 seconds behind all this, so they can sort of fight for all they want, really. They'll be quicker at the ends of the race, but they can mess about for now, because really they're all on their own. Have a bit of fun with it. As well, it's fighting with 2 Ferraris here. This could be quite a nasty situation, actually, for Will to be in. As CC Braden now fights with Baraka, there could be championship implications if they end up coming together, but these guys are fighting really hard with Will Murdoch, who's going to get the same sort of 4-car treatment that Suko got, as he's just going to get boxed in. As Brock sort of shoves the Red Bull of Cohen wide, and he'll do so again and again, but Will can't do much about them, so that might maybe have him trigger another set of pit stops, because he's sort of lost his momentum now, fighting with Suko, and ended up falling to the same fate as Suko did. That's how easy it is to lose places here. You wouldn't expect it, would you? But yeah, when you get mugged, you get mugged.
You do. I think a lot of people are getting mugged here as well. And with the dirty air as well, people losing a bit of downforce, I think it's definitely more of a factor around this track too. So, Will Murdoch, will he be going on to a fresh set of mediums maybe till the end? And as Cohen's got a bit of a slide again, he's not liking sitting behind another car at the moment, is he? And speaking of Will Murdoch, he probably must be listening to the stream as he goes in and he's on a set of mediums. So he doesn't like the softs by the looks of things, and he doesn't want to be in at that dirty air. He wants to be instant clean there. He goes onto the mediums. That will definitely get to the end of the race. And it's going to be a damage limitation race for him for the rest of it. I wonder if Jensen and Valentine will be thinking the same thing, but Jensen's tyres are a bit newer than his teammate, so he'll be thinking about it very, very soon. Well, Valentine will be thinking about it very soon. Jensen will have a lot longer to think about that as well. And I wonder if Suka could get mugged again, as he is now under pressure from Fabi once again. But the 2 Ferraris, you can tell they're working together as a team right now, because they want to try and get as close to the top of the constructors as they can, because Aston Martin are still leading, but Ferrari want to be up near the front of the constructors, because even though there's no prizes for that, they still want a bit of the piece of the cake, as it was. Hadler gets another penalty as well. Still a lot of drivers have got penalties. I think it's half the drivers on this field that does have penalties and half that don't, as Will Murdoch picks another one. Will Murdoch's got to be careful to avoid disqualification. I don't know how many you get for disqualification here if you get penalties in Mexico, but I think you see people get 30 seconds around here. Valentine's in the pits now, so he probably saw what Will Murdoch did, and he wants to do the same thing. And I think, is it mediums? No, it's another set of soft tyres, so he goes completely different to what he's seen Will Murdoch do.
Netsky then, he took the lead in the last lap. He's still holding it from reset. Looks like the Alfa Romeo is happy to sit behind, as we've seen before in this race. Fabi has been quietly, it has to be said, making his way up. Even though we've seen pretty much the entirety of the progress, he's just been lying in wait hoping that Risa and Netsky sort of start to fight a bit more, and he can take those last 2 positions to get a pretty sensational win if he can actually manage it, and obviously would break the curse of the no victories this season, and would certainly get him a nice gap in the championship as well, because Gill, he got overtaken by Jensen, I think, and he's not been able to re-overtake him since then, so his strategy seems to have fallen flat on its face. Mind you, at least Jensen's catching up to this big train, but even then, Gill has to pass them all. It's a difficult situation. Unless those guys at the front, all of their tyres fall at the end. And now that is a safety car potential, because that's Will Murdoch in the wall. It's a virtual safety car. That's good news. That is good news for those three that have just pitted. And Ash Best, I think, was considering it, but decided at the last minute not to pit. So any time that these guys that just pitted for Sauce now might have lost, they'll gain a little bit of it back. And Hadler even just behind Ash Best, but even still, now they've got a chance to break into this. They've got plenty of laps to do it. That BSC will help them handsomely.
I do believe, can you put it on lean in VSCs? 'Cause I know you can on safety cars, but I'm not sure you can on VSCs. I might be wrong. I never tried it, but if they can, that's a perfect time to save their ERS and fuel at this point before they go green flag racing, and it's handy for people that underfueled their car. So that is good for the guys up front, and we will see how everyone handles the safety car restart. VSC restart. It will be ending soon. People are speeding up like no tomorrow, so I'm almost certain that the safety car is going to be ending. The car of Will Murdoch is cleared, so surely it must be on the brink of green flag racing, surely now. Or it might just be to the end of this lap, I don't know. The cars are still quite close together, so let's just see how Netsky nails this. He's got to not afford to lose this race win, and afford to not speed up too early. But Haller's done exactly the same thing that I feared. He's got a drive-through for speeding under virtual safety car.
Look at Risa. This is his chance, and he can see Fabi on the back of him as well. Netsky did not have a good starting point for that restart, and they're side by side. Risa and Netsky into turn one. Risa, without the penalty, remember, does take that lead back. And he's got that buffer of one car between himself and Fabi, the real sort of threat to his victory. And here comes Kazizel trying to get himself past Suko. Remember, DRS never got turned off during this, and look at that round outside of 2 cars goes Kazizel. Nearly makes it work, but does get Suko. So that's good stuff on the Ferrari. Really had to get himself really deep into the braking zone. Maybe a bit too deep for his liking, but it worked out. Oh, he does pick up another penalty though. That might be him on to 6. So Fabi, he's got to hope that Netsky can start fighting Risa again. I think Netsky will probably feel a little bit hard done by, because that restart zone was terrible for him, because it meant that Risa was able to easily get him on DRS. There was no sort of good exit to be had at the last corner. He just started on a DRS straight.
Yes, with safety cars, at least you know when it's coming in early on, and you know when the safety car comes in the pit, so you know when the leader is going to floor it. Whereas in VSCs, it could come in any minute. That's what the point of a VSC is, and that's probably why Netsky got caught out a little bit, because we do see someone in the pit, and that is Soko, who's going on to some soft tyres by the looks of things. I do see someone else coming in. That is Hadler. So did he get damaged? Because he did pit a moment ago. So he must have got damaged somewhere, but Suko's in anyway.
The drive-through.
Oh, he's having a drive-through. Oh, yeah. As I think we see Baraka that gets past Ash Best into turn 1 on the fresher soft tyres, which are 1 second faster. Well, probably more than that between the softs and the hards, being around 2 seconds. So he gets past as well. CC Brain does exactly the same thing. Says thank you very much. So Baraka and CC Brain, they're inside the top 10 right now. Ash Best falls outside of that, and don't forget, this is Ash Best's last few races before I believe he goes to league racing retirement for, well, PSGL retirement at least for a while, and he wants a race to remember, but it's not looking like the race is going his way right now in the McLaren, but there's still chance to gain some points if he has less penalties compared to everybody else, but we will see. Kazizel, he's definitely chasing out the front lot now, isn't he? But Risa is definitely the one to benefit as he's got no penalties. Fabi as well, as Netsky's in, Risa's in.
Risa.
So it's not going to be a 1-stop then, it's going to be a 2-stop, so...
Well, we don't know that just yet. We'll see how many of them can stay out, because I'm sure they'll all be aware of the imminent threat of Baraka And, well, they pit, they're guaranteeing that they lose to him. If they stay out, they might be able to fight him. The guys pitting now have just guaranteed that they'll lose this race, I think. Because Baraka's miles clear of them. Absolutely miles clear. Nearly the whole main straight ahead now. So why would you pit? If you're Fabi and you've got everyone behind you on penalties, why would you pit? Just let's see what happens. You know, the guys have taken advantage under the VSC, which I'm sure they must have been aware of. And it's 10 to go. You might be struggling a bit on the tyres, but if I were Fabi, I'd risk this and just see what happens.
I think if I were the two Ferraris, I would risk it as well. Maybe Cohen and Gill will risk this as well to actually get redemption in this race after the strategies were screwed over. If Gill doesn't have to pit again, so if the top 4 pit, which I think may not be the smartest move, Gill could win this race as well, but he's got penalties, so let's see what they do. Fabi stays out, Cazizl stays out, Daniel stays out, Cohen stays out, obviously Gill stays out. So has the one that just pitted made the biggest mistake of their life? They're probably going to hope for a safety car, which will bring them back in, and they could be even faster in the safety car. Here comes Cazizl on Fabi. He takes the race lead on track. Can he pull away from Fabi? How many penalties does Cazizl got? He's got 6 seconds. So Cazizl's got to focus now on trying to get that 6-second gap from Fabi. But Fabi just got to stay 6 seconds off Cazizl, and then he would win this race pretty much, because everyone else around him has got 6 seconds. The only one that has not got 6 seconds is Gill, who's on 3 seconds, and Baraka, who's got no penalties at all. And same with obviously Suko and Riza. Netsky's only got 3 seconds as well. If he gets past Jensen, or he does try to get past, yeah, he does get past Jensen, and he's now going to try and get past Riza once again. Probably they're regretting this right now, but now for these guys, it's going to be a fight for pretty much points. I think they've lost this race now. I think I have to agree with you now.
And Fabi as well will be more comfortable sitting in second place, picking up 3 DRS zones a lap. Especially with CC Brain and Baraka were spending their time on the last lap fighting, in fact. But here's where Fabi can gain. Look, you know, he can just easily close in with the DRS. He's not even using his ERS. He gets this every lap now to the end. And this is all he has to do. Just keep doing this, and he'll win this race. It's as simple as that. CC Brain and Baraka are fighting with themselves, so even if they'll catch up to this, I think Baraka might still end up finishing second. But
I think he might.
He's got no penalty. He's got no penalty. They should be much faster. They should be able to break. They should be able to hit the back of that train. And Cazizl's got 6 seconds of penalties anyway, so I think the others might. Well, they'd have 3, wouldn't they? Let's see. Actually, well, Daniel, Cazizl, and Cohen and CC Brain all have 6 seconds. Gill has 3 seconds. So Baraka, yeah, we're pretty much nailed on for second place here. Perhaps even Risa could nick something out of this. So you never know how big these penalties could get. The 2 guys ahead definitely would fall behind him, but Alpha Omega would pick up some nice points. But Fabi now is onto the penalty range, and so that means that actually Baraka has to just close this gap to the point where he'd end up leading the thing. And it's just a yellow flag for Ash Best. He's going to spin on his way back on. Look out for a safety car for that front line. You can see it sometimes. And we don't get anything at the moment by the looks of it. Thought for a second it was about to prop up safety car, but it has cleared away. So Fabi now with a penalty. He's now hoping perhaps it. Well, let's see. We're going to have to look at this gap. He's still got 2 seconds over Baraka. He's the main man still to win this race, despite this penalty. But he's got to make sure, absolutely, that he doesn't get another one. That's the absolutely crucial thing as Ash Best retires in the pit lane. It's going to be a tense end to this one now. I think Fabi might end up regretting that penalty, but let's hope that he doesn't, because I think he's done the right thing by staying out. It'd be a shame if he ends up losing the win because of the penalty now.
Yes, and Baraka hasn't got a race victory this season. He's been close to one, neither has Fabi, so these two are technically fighting for it. But what Fabi's got to do, someone's in the wall, and that is Baraka. I just spoke good things about Baraka, and he ends up in the wall before the S's. Baraka, I'm not going to say anything more about the Alfa Romeos now, as he cuts the S's quite a lot, so he's going to get a penalty.
Is this where we just saw Baraka lose the championship? I'd say possibly yes, because a victory today, well, it would have put him right back in the fight. But now he's gonna get no points. Fabi could win this thing and pull well clear of Baraka. What I did? Oh, that could be a safety car as well now. As he hits the wall, didn't it immediately? I don't think he meant to do that, but he's out of the race. Hadler might have to pit with damage as well. I'm amazed that they're not putting a safety car out for this.
There was no
Surely
safety
we'll have to
car
get
for
one
when
up.
Will Murdoch binned it in the final corner.
Even still, there was a VSC with, well, got away with it, but now Netsky. Is Netsky gone off? He has. Netsky's hit the wall too, so we've got a smashed up car,
Jeez.
front wing everywhere. Is there even, no VSC or anything, so, fair enough, I suppose. I guess Fabi's not going to complain about that, because we got if we'd got a safety car, then Risa would have been the one to possibly take the victory. So all of that drama in the last lap has now directly helped Fabi again, because he's back in a comfortable position to win the race, unless Gil can get a move on. He is on the best tyres by 5 laps compared to Fabi, and that is what he needs to possibly put a fight on for this race. I'm sure he'll have someone in his ear telling him the situation, and he'll know now that all he's got to do is pass that McLaren and he will win this race. And I think I said his strategy had fallen flat on his face earlier. I didn't expect so many other people to get the strategy wrong. It's actually turned out that he got it right. So Fabi's back into the lead. Ferrari's not being too aggressive on him. Gil, very aggressive on Cohen. He knows he's got to do this one. Cohen's picked up a penalty in the fight. He's had a big slide as well. That'll be Gil through. So Fabi still ends up with a 2-car cushion. The 2 Ferraris though getting really close now, but not trying to fight each other. And this is going to be a real game of cat and mouse now. Can Gil make this work? Because this is going to be 2 Ferraris launching an attack on that McLaren. And McLaren knows he doesn't have to fight them massively because he'll finish ahead of them anyway. Does he know just how quick Gil's going to be though? This will be some tense finish to this one.
Yes, it will. And the gap between what you get for first place and what you get for second place is 4 points. And the gap between Gil and Fabi is 6 points. So if Gil wins this race, the gap will close down to 2 points between Fabi and Gil, which I have to say would be insane. But obviously if Fabi wins this race, the gap will increase by 4 points. So I think Gil will definitely want to win this one, but he's got to get past the 2 Ferraris first. At least Gil, I think, will probably get second place with the way this is going due to the fact Gil having less penalties. But I wonder if a few people are on some warnings. I think Rizza could gain a bit, but he's about 6 seconds off the pace of CC Brain. So as long if he gains 3 tenths per second, he can probably get P6, but probably not no other positions. Hadler gets a 3-second time, and the Ferraris are fighting through this section of track, but they both have DRS, so that doesn't help either of them. But Daniel is looking very, very good actually. Daniel, I believe, has taken a win this season. He's looking to get another one, but he could get, I think, 3rd place after all these penalties, because Idle's got 9 seconds. Obviously Gil will jump up due to his less penalties compared to Daniel, but yeah, Daniel could get 3rd place in the race, which will be a fantastic result for him. I forgot where he started. Where did he start? He gained 7 positions so far, so yeah, he'll be on for a brilliant result here today. So Daniel is doing an excellent job.
I'm not sure it's going to happen for him though, because Risa is arriving. He is getting there. He's maybe not going to arrive in time to upset these guys on a 3-second penalty, but the ones on a 6, definitely. He's almost in that gap. Do you know what? If he can really get his foot down in these last couple of laps, he could still upset this. If the guys at the front start fighting again, especially with CC Brain carving his way through the pack, it could slow it down just enough here. So keep your eye on Race's gap. If he can close 4.4 seconds, he could still win this race. If he can close by 1.4 seconds, he could still finish on the podium. And look at these 2 Ferraris. They're still putting Fabi under so much pressure. They're waiting for their right moment to make a move. They'll have to do it at some point, right? They'll be tempted to go for this. And the second that starts happening, you'll see Fabi losing time to Reese. He's lost nearly a second on this lap already to him. Reese is really getting his foot down at the minute. Can he get there in time?
Right, I'm looking at the gap between the leader, between Fabi and Rizza, is 6.2 seconds. So he's got to gain 3 seconds. Well, pretty much 3.2 seconds in 3 laps. I think he could do it.
Even the worst thing, Fabi's going to be absolutely none the wiser to this. He'll have absolutely no idea that Reese is coming and that he's got no penalties. He won't have any idea. The game's not going to tell him that. There's no way of him knowing unless someone's physically telling him. And with CC Brain now just up into 4th place now, you know, he could affect this stuff. And if Gil feels safe to let the Ferraris get free if they attack him, it could cost him big time if he doesn't realise what's happening here with Risa, who's now 5.9, 5.8 seconds behind. 5.7, it just keeps going down exponentially.
Yeah, that's why I've got the leader gap on. I'm going to keep it on for the rest of the race now because it is so intense. And the battle that Fabi's having with the 2 Ferraris is not helping matters. Maybe the Ferraris are helping Rizza trying to close in as Hadler's out the race. It would have been, I think, nope, he's retired in the pits. Okay, he hasn't binned it, he's retired in the pits. So, but there would be no safety car because it's less than almost 2 laps to go until the end of the race. So it is a sprint to the finish. I'm surprised there hasn't been any safety cars so far this race. But what's the gap now between Rizza and Fabi? 4.9 seconds. It's closing in once again. So Rizza will be on the podium regardless now because of everyone else's penalties. But is it going to be P2 or is it going to be P1? We'll find out in 2 laps' time. Another yellow flag, that is the AI car of Hadler. He's got some clear air, so that's what's helping him right now. It's a clear air that he's got. Fabi does not have clear air behind him. He has in front of him, though. But the Ferraris do not have clear air. So, Rizza, 4.7. Oh, yellow flag.
It's not moving. It's not moving, that Aston Martin. That might have distracted a little bit. Risa has, as far as I'm aware, only had 2 points finishes this season. They've both been 3rd places. That's what he's trying to probably on for at the minute. But if he can just keep this gap going, he'll make it a P1 and he'll end up with all 3 of his finishes being on the podium, and this one would obviously be his first win of the season. Can he get there? He's now less than a second away. But you know what? Cohen is like just in that gap. It might even come down to whether Cohen is within DRS range of Gil, because I could just hold Risa up just enough. This is going to go right down to it because of just how long this train actually is. It's potentially going to need Risa to make some moves on this last lap. But as it stands, he's just 6/10 away from a victory today. Let's see how this is going to work. It looks like Sizzle's 8/10 gap is probably enough to keep Fabi happy, because the ERS isn't necessarily too high for either of them, so it's not going to be a massive closing speed, I don't think, for Kazizel. Let's see, though. Can he close this one down enough as he heads towards turn 1? He's pretty much run his battery dry. The 2 Ferraris now are fighting away, scrapping into turn 1. This could slow it all down, especially when CC Brain gets involved. Reese's gap's nearly there, and there's contact between CC Brain and between Daniel, and Kazizel's now closing. And CC Brain fancies getting involved in the action as well. There could still be some good positions in this, so they're going 3 wide, and I think Kazizel's had to get deep on the brakes, and Daniel round the outside. Really good fight between these 2 cars, but they've got to make sure they're careful. Reese is well within the gap at the moment, and this is really tight now. I'm riding over him, and you can see he's not going to get any closer than this. If these guys in front fight too much, it could cost him. Oh, this is so tight. I don't know how this is going to work. And here comes Cohen on Gil. If they think about fighting, they can mess it up. Here comes CC Brain as well. It's all getting so close, but we've got to keep our eye on that gap. It's still 2.5, and down the inside goes Risa. Valentine's binned it behind him. That shouldn't affect this fight, but Risa, with a really risky move, gives him a bit of breathing space. Here comes Fabi to the line. I don't think that's enough for him, and Risa's going to go from 6th to 1st.
Wow. He did what he needed to do. He brought the gap down from like 8 seconds, was it? To around about 3 seconds, which is what he needed. It was actually almost 2 seconds. So Rizza, who's only scored a few points finishes, he's gone on to win his first race in PSGL, and to be honest, this will be, you always remember your first win in a league, and I think you'll definitely remember this. But Fabi won't be too disappointed to lose to Rizza, because most importantly, all of his other championship rivals are behind him. So he will extend his championship lead over Gill. Not quite by 4 points, I think by 2 points. I don't know, but Reza is a PSGL F2 winner. That is insane. Great job to him. He is on good form right now, and he could be on for a great result in USA. USA is also track limit penalty central. So if Reza could do exactly the same thing in USA next week, he could be on for another win here next week.
I do wonder just how much, Fabi actually knew about that. Like I said, because Fabi was no higher, Reza was no higher than 6th really in those closing stages. So that was just too far for him to see on the leaderboard. I wonder how he would maybe have thought about driving that differently if he knew he needed that extra half a second. Either way, though, Reza did what he had to do. And, well, in fairness, Reza probably had no idea either, really, did he? So
no, he didn't, because you only know the 2 drivers, I think, in front of you and behind you. You don't know everybody else, so you just focus on yourself and you think, I could get a podium here, but I don't think you would predict us to win. I would like to see his reaction, actually. So, Reza, if you're watching this back, can you post it on Twitter, please? So, because you'll probably be as shocked as anything. He's made 2 stops as well. So, I think another driver that's also made 2 stops, who also had a good race. From 6th to 4th is Brock as well. So, brilliant race from him. Jensen from 16th to 9th. He gets some more points for Haas. Valentin retired on the last lap. He could have been on for points for Haas as well. But again, it's another DNF for the Haas driver of Valentin, unfortunately. But there are your results. We've got Reza, Fabi, Gil, Brock, Daniel, CC Brain, Suko, Kazizel, Jensen and Cohen. They're your point scorers. So we got Yannick and Netsky are your finishers. And your retirements are Valentin, Hadler, Baraka, Ashbest and Will Murdoch. No safety cars, a lot of penalties. And I did say the winner would come down to the one with the least penalties. And this time it came down to Reza. A well-deserved victory for him. And well done to the other people who didn't get penalties either. But they can get quite close. Fabi only got 3 seconds as well. So it showed he kept it clean for the rest of the race after he got that 3-second time penalty.
yeah, and do you know what? I've got to quickly point out as well. I think I said it during the race. What on earth is Baraka going to do about this one now? Because that'll be almost as painful as France, really. I don't want to go on the negatives all the time, but I'm sure he'll probably end up thinking about it as well. That's two victories that he's lost now this season. You do just wonder how these things affect the championship. And yeah, obviously we won't get to interview him, but I do think he'll be hurting, particularly with that one, more than in France.
Yeah, well, I think so as well, because he didn't have the wet weather to contend with, so he could blame the strategy for the wet, whereas it's completely dry here, so he could probably blame his mistakes more personally, and he'll probably regret it as well. And I think he'll still be in the championship fight next week. He was 5th before this race. He had a 10-point gap to Fabi. It's going to increase by a 12 points. So that will be 22 points he is between Baraka and Fabi. So he will still be in the fight only just, but he needs a fantastic result at USA in order to stay in the fight. If he doesn't get a good result, if he DNFs again, he'll be again out of this one. And USA is the track we go to next, actually, which I can't remember when we were last here, but it was a while since we were last here as well. Again, F1 race there not that long ago as well. That was quite a good race, but I wonder we'll see some similar strategies here, but it's more than likely going to be a one-stop around here compared to obviously Mexico, where quite a few people do the 2-stop. But I do like to see a mixture of strategies again, because that definitely spiced the race up a bit today.
Oh yeah, definitely, it spiced it up. I mean, I'd say we were almost both wrong on the strategy. I think it was that hard to predict. We both ended up saying all sorts, but in the end it was actually a 2-stopper who won the race. So yeah, I suppose you actually were probably right on that one, weren't you? But well.
Well, to be honest, we don't know. At one point, technically Fabi crossed the line first, so if he didn't get a penalty, he would have won the race on a 1-stop. But it showed that whoever gets no penalties wins the race here. And just like tradition, Fabi, when he's on the podium, he likes to go and talk to us. He usually does. He never fails to go and talk to us. So let's go and bring him in. So hopefully Fabi can hear us now. Another podium for you, not quite the win. You got the penalty, I think, towards the end of the race, which cost you the victory, but more importantly, you increased the gap to your championship rivals. Were you disappointed not to get the victory, or were you happy that you closed the gap, increased the gap to your championship rivals?
First of all, good evening.
Good evening.
Honestly, I thought I won the race because my race engineer didn't told me that Whistle has 0 penalties. And yeah, a bit disappointed because I got 2 stupid warnings in the sector 2. P2 is also good. Increased the gap to Chill and Baraka. I think Baraka
Baraka DNF,
crashed out.
Yeah.
2 more points compared to Chill, and now 8-point gap to second place. I think it's a good result, but I'm aiming for my first win.
Still haven't got a win.
No.
It's happened last season when the championship winner never got a win. We want to get in a situation where the championship leader has a win. So, could USA be your chance? Could you get your first victory this season at USA?
I really tried. I was in front and I really tried, and yeah, I thought till a few seconds after the finish line that I won, but then Whistle comes.
It could be a good omen. It could be a good omen. It did win the title last season with no victories.
Mm-hmm.
You could do it the hard way.
Yeah, you speak to Xander. He will give you some advice because that's how he did it last season. But anyway, as you saw people pitting for the 2 stop onto the softs and some on the mediums, did you think you made the right decision staying out on the medium tyres? Because it seemed like the right decision at the time for you.
I think the 1 stopper was the right decision. I crossed the line at first, and yeah, it was just stupid warnings. I think the 1 stopper was faster because you can't overtake so much cars in the S-trains.
Yeah, because you saw a few drivers obviously losing a bit of grip as well. You were fighting to try and get obviously near the front as well. How was it with your setup around the track? Were you struggling a little bit for pace, or do you just take advantage of other people's mistakes?
I think the pace was good. The car was great, and yeah, I think Assisted struggles a bit with tire wear at the rear tires. But yeah, it was fine for me, but I don't know how it was for the others.
Yeah, the drivers were finding it difficult, and I think a lot of drivers are finding it difficult in quali as well. We already talked about you potentially getting your first win this season in USA, right? Who would you say, because you don't have long to go until the end of the championship, who would you say is the one that could potentially stop you? Do you think Gil could potentially have another good result here, or is there someone else who has been having good form that could steal the championship off you?
I think Gil is the number 1 contender. Baraka has a disappointed result, but I think he will be back on USA. And
he
the others
hasn't had a win either.
And honestly, I don't know the standings after this round exactly.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see how you do in USA next week, actually. Owen, do you have any questions?
Nothing much for me. Again, you sort of summarised it all. I suppose, really, just say, don't be too disheartened with the race there, because I think you actually did do a very good job in the end. I think you did get a bit unlucky with how that went in the end, but still, definitely one of the strongest performers out there. I think you're definitely on the form now for this title. Just keep the consistency up. All those podiums, I know it's not victories, but you're definitely getting the points on the board.
Yeah, the last 4 races was good. I think 3 out of 4 podiums. Yeah, that's a good consistency.
And even in Japan, you got P4, so you were so close to a podium in Japan as well. So you are up there.
The reason I wasn't able to go for the podium was because you commentated F1 and not F2.
Oh, Oh,
That's
and
throwing us
now,
both under the
I'm
bus,
back, and you
actually.
got, and now I'm back. You got a podium. See, I should stay here more often. I hope to stay here for the rest of the season, please, because I would like to see you in the interview box again, because you're the only one that we seem to interview.
No problem.
But anyway, congratulations, Fabi, on your result here today. And another P2, and maybe you get that massive P1 next week in USA. Best of luck, and
you.
enjoy the celebrations.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can get... is Risa rating in the interview box? Nope, he's not. I would like to hear from him, but it's not manageable, so I guess that is it then for the stream. Don't forget, there is the F1 stream happening now. They're about to head to the end of their qualifying session, about to start their Mexican Grand Prix. And there's lots of other tiers going on streams as well. I believe it's F5 as well going on. So check that out. And I think there's no other streams going on, so that is it. Owen, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, we're getting to the closing stage of the season. I just want to say, do stick with us. Thanks for watching tonight, and definitely stay tuned for the way this challenge is going to end. I think you're going to see some sort of comeback from Baraka next week. I hope.
I think we all hope we will see a recovery from Baraka, because he's got to have a good result, like I said earlier. So thank you for listening. We will see you next week, same time, 7 p.m. for the United States Grand Prix. Will Rizza make it 2 for 2? Will Fabi get his first win of the season? Will Baraka make a comeback? We'll find out at 7 p.m. Have a good evening. Enjoy the F1 stream with Luke and Mark. And good night.